Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. Prior to the end of each year, that infamous word, resolution, comes out, and persons start to think about how they'll do things differently in the coming year. It's an all too familiar process that, for some persons, requires guidance and mentorship to actually see it through to fruition. To provide this kind of support is licensed sports psychologist, author, and life coach, Dr. Olivia Rose. Welcome to the program, Dr. Rose.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's jump right into getting some facts. Making resolutions versus setting goals. Is there a difference between two of those things?
Yes and no, because a resolution is a firm decision that you intend to act on something.
Right.
Goal setting requires you to actually make a firm decision, and it's more than acting on it. It's now planning how you're going to execute that.
So we itemize
So we
it.
have moved more from just making the decision to now acting and be more deliberate. So what is it that I need to do? Who do I need to speak to? What resources I need, and so on. So goal setting is not the most exciting term that people like to hear.
Right.
Neither is it strategic planning, because those things sound too heavy. However, I still recommend and will always recommend that we set goals. And as we are coming to the end of the year, there is, if you had set a goal, that is, there are goals that you can review. So it's the year in review. What is it that you achieved? And there's a sense of accomplishment that you'll feel, because you know that even though you may not have achieved everything,
Right.
there's still a checklist that you can say, okay, I did this and I was able to do that. But then if we're just operating on autopilot, then you may have accomplished a lot and still feel like a spoiled fruit or not good enough, or there's always something else.
Right.
But goal setting helps significantly to give you a map, a framework as to what is it that you're working with.
So your recommendation then for those who struggle with resolutions, for example, is make a firm decision, but then do some goal setting
Yes,
hand in hand.
definitely we need that decision to be made, because we
Right.
want you to prepare purposefully about your life, because it is your life.
Right.
And we set goals in various ways and for different things. So in the same way, be more intentional, purposeful about getting your affairs together. So again, there are different ways in which you can do it. We have different techniques. Most people are familiar with the SMART technique, where it's supposed to be.
I'm going to ask you about the
Okay,
SMART technique,
great.
but before you go there, I want to ask you something else, though.
Yes.
Because I want to talk on the psychologist part of your expertise. Why is it important to stick to goals? Is there a psychological trigger there?
Well, I don't want to tell you too much about theories of planned behavior and intentional.
In the layman?
No, in layman terms, which is what I'm going to. There are times when we intend to do something and it's not really carried out because of various reasons, which is why sometimes behavior change becomes very challenging. So it's not like you don't want to do it, but you go through different spirals and cycles and
happens.
on and off, and life in and of itself, that's the simplest term of several theories I've combined, right, to explain what can happen and what actually happens in real life.
Right.
So this is where a support system becomes very crucial. And support can be in the form of a personal assistant, a coach, a psychologist, a friend, a mentor. So after you've made that firm decision, be it resolved, you are resolved that you're going to get your life together.
Right.
Now, what are the resources that you're going to need to achieve these? Who are the people that you need to contact? Because we all are interdependent, and our goals don't work in isolation of a whole group of people, especially in sports, right? So it's important for sometimes you don't need to share all of your goals, but what I'm saying is that we need each other. Right? And again, culturally, we have this tendency to think that, if you share your goal or if you talk about it, it's going to be jinx and, all sorts of things going to happen. So But I still encourage that conversation, and there must be a close friend and a mentor that you can say, this is what I want to achieve, and they can also, usually if they have more experience on the matter, guide you as to what else you can do.
I like that point you made about the support system of goals. Now, you are going into SMART, and now I want you to tell me about SMART.
All right, so generally we know of the SMART principle, and the SMART principle for goal setting is that it's supposed to be specific, measurable, attainable. We're at R, realistic, but I have an issue with that part, but we'll get back to it.
Okay.
And it needs to be time-bound because we need to put ourselves in some limited time.
Can't be just open-ended.
Yeah, it can be open-ended. But then for athletes, and I have to include this part because even though it's for athletes, it's applicable to other people. We set smarter goals.
Okay.
What that means, the E is for evaluated in the event of not having enough resources or the season ends before, and a lot of things can change. And then R is for reversible because goal setting can fluctuate, and you have to probably, based on resources, you may not have some things. And for athletes, it's because of injury, right? So, but the non-athletic population can experience injury in different forms. So the R is also very applicable to them.
So I can update that a bit, but just to reiterate it for our audience, you're saying that we need to have systematic goals.
Specific. So what is it that you want to achieve?
Specific,
do you want to buy a car this year? Do you want to purchase a house? Do you want to go back to school? What is the goal?
And then we measure it.
And maybe even if you want to buy a car, what kind of car? What year car? So we're getting really specific about it.
Right.
Measuring it now may be challenging, and again, this is why I use other techniques. So we have the measuring part would include the support system. Who is going to ensure, help you to select the right car? Who is going to be there to help you to go back to school, what resources you need, and how would you know? How would you know is if you applied and you got accepted. So there are actions that you need to take. But those are the steps that sometimes make goal setting very unattractive. So the other parts of the culture, I was going to say pop culture, right? Pop culture has different ways in which they go about setting goals, and psychology has combined some of that, but we do it in a very specific and scientific way. Now, the future self letter is very important.
Right.
That's also another technique, and that is where, let's say you write to yourself a future letter that you would want to receive in the next 6 months. So the letter is written in the past tense, and there are specific things that you are now activating to ensure that what you have put in the letter actually comes true.
Dr. Rose, we're going to have to go to a break right now. I love what we're getting out of this SMART system and the tools and the tips that can help us to get our goals off the ground. So we're coming right back to this. Please don't go anywhere. We're at our break. Stay with us.